Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We're confident that we had sufficient evidence and significant evidence of this offense when we arrested him.
Police say a man charged with the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl was arrested and released twice in the weeks before the alleged attack. Plus, Federal Court of Appeal has granted a stay that pauses the potential cull of nearly 400 ostriches at a farm in BC's West Kootenays. And
devastated, sad.
A beloved movie theater in Pitt Meadows is closing its doors at the end of the month, but thousands of people are rallying to keep it open.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. CBC is learning more about the man charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl last month during a crime spree in Vancouver's Oak Ridge neighborhood. John Frederick Field is a high-risk sex offender with a long criminal record. And as Karen Larson reports, 2 months before the alleged Oak Ridge attack, Field was in police custody for allegedly terrorizing a young woman in East Vancouver.
A young woman is telling a frightening story about what happened to her at her home in East Vancouver back in March. The woman's name is Danielle. We found her in court records and have agreed to only use her first name. At 4:30 in the morning, Danielle was awakened in her third-floor apartment in the Commercial Drive neighborhood by a man on her back patio.
I saw him through the door. He's standing on my patio, just standing there looking at me. And then as I screamed, realizing that I didn't know this person, he started walking towards the door and started banging on the door. I grabbed a knife that was on my kitchen counter. My dog was barking. He's freaking out. The guy's still banging on the door. He's screaming at me, yelling at me.
The man arrested on the patio is 62-year-old John Frederick Field. Field is a high-risk sex offender, has a long criminal record, and was on probation for a 2023 sex assault of a female medical worker in Vancouver. He was taken to jail on March 26, but was released soon after because of criminal code limitations, according to VPD, and the fact that trespassing at night is a low-level criminal offense. Police did submit a charge report to Crown the following day.
We're confident that we had sufficient evidence and significant evidence of this offense when we arrested him, that offense being trespass at night. We arrested him at the scene on the balcony, and he was taken into custody.
But Crown didn't press charges immediately and requested VPD investigators provide more evidence. Meanwhile, Field continued to have run-ins with the law. He was arrested in early May for shoplifting at the Pacific Centre Lululemon, and CBC has learned that police were looking for him in relation to incidents involving 2 other women. Then on May 28th, he allegedly sexually assaulted the 14-year-old in a public washroom in Oak Ridge, along with assaulting another woman and robbing a bank. He was arrested that same day and remains in custody. He is scheduled for a bail hearing in Vancouver Provincial Court on June 26th. Karen Larson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Meanwhile, the BC government is promising more resources to crack down on violent repeat offenders. Public Safety Minister Gary Begg says a police program that focuses on getting violent repeat offenders off the streets is getting a $6 million boost, bringing the total funding to $17 million.
Every day, our police see the devastating impact these crimes have on innocent individuals, families, and communities.
The Special Investigation and Targeted Enforcement Team was launched in 2023. Begg says so far it helped bring a 27% drop in violent crime in Vancouver's Hastings Crossing area. A federal court of appeal has granted a stay that puts the planned cull of nearly 400 ostriches on hold. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency had ordered the birds destroyed because of an avian flu outbreak. The farm owners have posted that they were granted an emergency stay on the call while they prepare an appeal. A number of people had come to the property to protest the call and fight against what they say is government overreach. The Food Inspection Agency has said the type of avian flu infection present at the farm is a mutation not seen elsewhere in Canada. There was a celebration today at the corner of Kitsilano's newly named Musqueam View Street.
This is actually a really cool time to be in the city of Vancouver. This is pretty historic.
Mayor Ken Sim was there to hand over the official unveiling to Musqueam Chief Wayne Sparrow. Tomorrow marks National Indigenous Peoples Day in Canada. The CBC's Corey Bullock was at a Cranbrook event to kick off festivities there.
And this is a coyote, yeah, and this is the skunk, yeah, the weasel family.
For Norman Gagne, National Indigenous Peoples Day is a day to celebrate his heritage.
Yeah, my mom was a descendant of Micmac, and my father's descendant, they're Algonquin and Huron.
Gagne is a fur trapper who grew up in Quebec. For the past 15 years, he's been teaching students in School District 5 how to hunt and forage along his trap line south of Cranbrook. He was just one of many people sharing stories about their Indigenous culture at Cranbrook's annual National Indigenous Peoples Day event.
The theme for today is Kusikik Kuk Amasnam, which is kind of coming together to celebrate, which is the word that our elders have shared with us to mean community, and we're really here to celebrate our community today.
For others, National Indigenous Peoples Day is a day to reflect on their own past.
I went to residential school for 11 years. I'm a survivor, and I'm proud to be one. Left school and got married, had 5 kids. Proud of each and every one of them.
Sumac says it's a day to teach younger generations about their culture.
I wasn't always proud to be Indigenous, and I think our goals for these kind of events is to remind our kids that they should be proud and we should celebrate who they are.
He says it's also a chance to educate others, adding that attending an event like this is one way for settlers and non-Indigenous people to participate in reconciliation. And another way to learn?
I always say Indigenous people are making whatever kind of media you consume. We have amazing Indigenous people on CBC. We also have Indigenous podcasts, Indigenous television series. I think that for me is one of the easiest access points.
Sumac says Indigenous Peoples Day is also a celebration of the summer solstice, welcoming the light and warmth of a new season. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Cranbrook.
People in Pitt Meadows are coming together to save a beloved cinema. Hollywood 3, a family-owned theater, is shutting its doors by the end of the month. As Pinky Wong tells us, thousands have signed an online petition hoping to keep the curtains open.
This cinema on Lougheed Highway in Pitt Meadows has been like a second home for Sarah at Hargett Row. She's been working here for more than a decade.
I've joked about moving in upstairs.
She says Hollywood 3 has not only been a place for people to watch movies, but a place for students to create memories on school trips and kids celebrating birthdays. It's also about the connection she's built with people who visit regularly.
I like to see different generations bring in their families, and single couples get together and they bring in their kids a few years later. It's just beautiful to see.
But soon, this cinema will be screening its final film. It's set to close by the end of June when their lease ends. The owner says the family-run theater is facing a 25% rent hike and business is down significantly as viewing habits have changed since the pandemic.
It's not the easiest thing, but then at times you have to accept the fact.
I'm devastated, sad. I've been here so long that I never thought about anything else.
Marcy says keeping admission prices low is important, with ticket costing between $3 and $6.
We want to be a affordable, family-oriented business. If we raise our prices, I think our business will go down.
This longtime theater visitor has started an online petition hoping to keep the cinema from closing. The petition garnering more than 4,000 signatures so far.
This place means a lot to this community. It's a place that people love and cherish.
He says, like many, his son's first movie experience was at Hollywood 3.
And many people who watched their first movie here when they were a kid brought their own children and grandchildren to watch the first movie here.
In a statement, the city of Pitt Meadows says it shares the community's disappointment in the closure and says the city is willing to work with the owner to explore possible locations in Pitt Meadows.
Do not follow this orb, even if you're a struggling business owner.
Pinky Wong, CBC News, Pitt Meadows.
Fisheries and Oceans Canada is urging people to keep their distance from marine mammals. It comes after a man was fined $5,000 for getting too close to a pod of dolphins on his jet ski.
There's many threats that these animals are facing, and one of them is acoustic disturbance from motorized vessels, but also physical disturbance of an object in the waters.
It happened in 2022 near Port McNeill. Stephen White was filming himself speeding toward the pod, getting closer than the 100-meter minimum distance. He posted the video online, which was used as evidence and led to his guilty verdict in court. A group of SFU students are reviving Eyes of the Beast, a docu-theater production that shares testimonials of survivors of local climate disasters. As Shivani Joshi reports, they hope to highlight the realities of climate change.
In 2021, British Columbia was struck by 3 climate disasters: wildfires that ravaged the village of Lytton, a heat dome that scorched much of the province, and flooding devastation in the Sumas prairies. Those harrowing events are unfolding on stage in Eyes of the Beast.
The vision for that piece was to tell the stories of the survivors of climate disaster in a way that would communicate to the audience how immediate and local and important this issue is.
We couldn't open up the gas station. Student actors from Simon Fraser University, in collaboration with New World Theatre, portray the witnesses.
It's quite powerful to see younger people tell the story.
It's so thick I couldn't even see a block down.
The show is split up into 3 parts, which are meant to mirror what happens when a community goes through a disaster.
Everybody was screaming and yelling.
Starting with the play, which acts out different emergency scenarios, like a mother who escapes from a scorched town and a fisher who saves an alligator from flooded farmland. Then the floor opens up to the audience, where they talk about their relationship to climate change.
The lesson from this play and the experience of this play is that climate change is something that's close at hand and impacting all of us.
People will start to think about climate disasters as something that can affect them imminently at any time, and that the way that they can be prepared for that is by communicating with their neighbors and getting to know their community and building those relationships around them.
Smoke and the fire! I thought you could turn around and go back!
The production is running until Sunday. Shivani Joshi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Darius Madavi joins us now with a first look at our weather. Darius?
Right, so thunderstorms moving throughout the southern interior, parts of the Cariboo, as well as up in the Peace. The most severe at the moment, or at least over the last few hours, seem to have been in the southern interior. And actually, we have some footage for you from Kelowna, where we've seen some of those thunderstorms roll through. We saw hail, we saw very heavy rain, sheets of rain falling from the sky, and many, many lightning strikes. We're talking hundreds of lightning strikes over those few hours as we saw that storm roll through. We saw several waves of it move up through the Boundary region, through the Okanagan, through the Thompson, as well as through parts of the southeast. So lots of lightning happening, but also, as you can see, very widespread showers, including some very heavy downpours. This is not the dry lightning that we've seen recently. This is there's a lot of moisture coming along with it, lots of showers as well. And those are going to continue over the next couple of days, bringing some much needed moisture to the southern interior, joining places like the Peace that have also gotten some rain after a long dry period recently. Temperatures have also come down as a result, and we may see very rapidly dropping freezing levels in parts of the southern interior, which means mountain passes could see up to 5 centimeters of wet snow tonight. Most areas probably just trace amounts, but be aware, it is possible in many of those areas. Again, lightning up in the Peace as well as up in the northwest. Hopefully this will make a difference in our fire danger situation, which does remain a little bit elevated in the south, Hopefully we'll see that drop tomorrow, and hopefully next Thursday, as we get our next drought update, we'll see improvement there as well.
All right, we'll check back in with you in a little bit. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's hard to get a job, and for young people, the barriers can seem never-ending. When we return, we break down the stats showing why employers are opting against entry-level employees. We're now going to take you to explore an all-electric passenger ferry that's being proposed to cater to coastal communities from downtown Vancouver. CBC's Jessica Chung hopped on the Artemis to check it out.
I'm on the Artemis EF-12 Escape right now, which is a fully electric hydrofoil vessel that's being demoed here in Vancouver. And right now we are actually taking off. You can see we are in the harbor right now, and this boat right now is on the surface of the water. But now that we are taking off, I don't know if you can see, but we are legitimately levitating out of the water surface at the moment. And this is because this is a hydrofoil vessel. And if you've never seen a hydrofoil vessel before, it has these wings underneath the hull of the vessel that kind of it lifts the whole vessel above the water, and it also almost looks like you're gliding above the surface of the water, which is exactly what we're doing right now. Now, this vessel is also completely electric, so I know that there is some wind sound right now, but honestly, it's so quiet because this vessel is completely electric. Now, when the vessel is off the water like this, it uses around 70 to 90% less energy than a conventional vessel. A ferry agency here in BC is looking to use vessels like this to create new routes in Vancouver, on the Sunshine Coast, and on the island. Now, Artemis Technologies says this all contributes. Using a vessel like this contributes to providing cost-effective and also, of course, environmentally friendly service to people who need it. Take a listen.
As soon as you bring the boat up out of the water, you significantly reduce the drag, which improves the efficiency. So it means that this boat can go further and faster with electric-only power.
Nothing is set in stone yet, but Artemis Technologies, which is the manufacturer of these boats, is looking to partner up with FRS Clipper and Green Line Ferries, which are ferry operators, to use these vessels to create some new routes. Now, the agency says that with these electric vessels, as we were talking about, it could save on energy costs, fuel costs, just because of the electric part of the vessel, but also the hydrofoil part of the vessel as well. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch in terms of environmentally friendly vessels plus cost-efficient services. Now, this deal, again, is not set in stone, but if it were to go through, they're looking to have vessels on the water by 2027.
This year is proving tough for young people trying to land a summer job. As Georgie Smythe shows us, postings are down and youth unemployment keeps climbing.
Highlight sort of this section and turn it.
Sho Ritko is getting some help tinkering with their resume, restructuring it, adding certificates, anything that might help them stand out in a very tight jobs market.
It's hard. It's hard. I have a spreadsheet of all the jobs that I applied to within like a 2-month period, and it was over 80, and I only heard back from 2 of those, and they were both gig jobs, so nothing stable.
Just a few years ago, Canada had a shortage of workers, but now hiring is down. Many economists blame the trade war for fueling uncertainty and say employers are reluctant to bring on new staff. Canada's unemployment rate for 15 to 24-year-olds is more than 14%. That's 1.4% higher than last year and double the national average.
Type in what you want, like part-time, full-time, and then where you're from.
While the job search might be smoother now with the help of online platforms, economists say it hasn't been this slow for young people since 2012.
A lot of people without experience are having difficulties entering into entry-level positions because there's people who have more experience who are trying to apply for those jobs as well.
Employment agencies say there's more competition for summer jobs and casual work, ones teens or young adults often fill.
It's just like getting the first job that's so hard. I've tried to apply for jobs for like a year now, and just like most places like don't get back to me, or they just like say no.
Just a real trying time for Canadians under 25, especially in their teenage years.
And he says it'll continue to be hard as long as the trade war drags on.
Getting the ship turned around for job seekers is just going to require a turnaround in the overall economic situation, which can happen quickly, but we need things to actually change on the ground.
A frustrating start to working life before it's even begun. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
The sunshine off the northern coast of Vancouver Island, a lonely fishing vessel plying the Johnstone Strait. Darius has your solstice day weather next. Parks Canada and the RCMP have confirmed more grim news from Banff National Park. Rescue workers have found the body of a second person killed in Thursday's devastating rockfall. Officials say there was nothing foreseeable or preventable about the slide. Helen Pike has more.
I heard just kind of a cracking sound, and I knew immediately what that sound was rock.
2 hikers now confirmed dead in a rock fall near Bow Glacier Falls in Banff National Park. 3 people were also injured, taken to hospital. RCMP now saying they're in stable condition. It happened Thursday around 1 p.m., a joint response between RCMP, Parks Canada officials at the scene of a serious rock fall at this popular hiking spot near Lake Louise. Ellie Jackson describes this sheet of rock, the size of a multi-story building, coming down. No hesitation, she starts running.
I just ran and I hoped I would survive. And I did. And I'm virtually unharmed at all, just a little bit of bruises. But I felt one little rock chip bounce off my arm. But I'm just thankful.
It's in an area with bad cell reception. Calling for help wasn't easy. Jackson had a satellite phone and a first aid kit.
I can't believe how many people came together to help and do whatever they possibly could with their abilities and the equipment that they had to help.
Friday morning, search crews were still out at the scene. We saw helicopters moving to and from the rockfall site. At this point, RCMP say no additional hikers have been reported missing. No additional vehicles at the trailhead are unaccounted for. We do know the trail is closed while work is underway to assess the stability of the slope, and heavy rains are in the forecast, which could complicate that work. Helen Pike, CBC News, Banff National Park.
Rock falls in mountainous places like Banff National Park may not be uncommon, but Thursday's deadly incident raises urgent questions about how they happen and what steps may help to prepare for them. Lindsay Duncombe looks at that part of the story.
Mountains may look solid, unchanging, but these layers of rock are often moving.
Rocks, like anything else, when they get hot, they'll expand, and when they get cool, they contract. So over day and night, these rocks are in motion.
Over time, those changes in temperature create cracks, and eventually, with gravity, the rock can give way. When that happens at a very steep slope, it's called a rockfall.
At the base of the slope, you're just peppered with these blocks of different sizes, and they're traveling at about the speed at which a car would travel.
This geologist says the Bow Glacier Falls Trail was especially vulnerable because the slope used to be covered in ice, but the glacier is melting. He calculates this was the frozen area about 100 years ago, and this is the area now.
And this is a phenomenon we're seeing globally.
In fact, a retreating glacier in Switzerland is believed to have triggered this landslide last month. The entire village, home to 300 people, flattened. In that case, geologists anticipated the crisis and evacuated the town. Predicting what may happen on remote hiking trails, though, is tough.
The best thing to do to try to prevent them is at the beginning of the tourist season is to have professional climbers actually go up those rock faces and check those cracks and see what areas might be weak.
Technology could help too, especially something called INSAR. It uses satellites to measure the Earth's surface to the millimeter and could detect movements before a slide is triggered.
We'll be able to pick out those needles in a haystack in areas where landslides and people kind of come together.
A tool for preventing another tragedy as the planet changes and the risks grow. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
The House of Commons has passed the federal government's Bill C-5, known as the One Canadian Economy Act. 2 votes were held instead of 1 after the House Speaker ruled that the legislation had 2 distinct parts without a common element.
Yeas pour 306, 306. Nays contre 31-31.
Declare Part 2, including the schedule, carried.
The act contains measures to tackle internal trade barriers and gives the government new powers to approve major projects deemed to be of national interest. The bill had been expected to pass due in part to the opposition Conservatives. Prime Minister Mark Carney says the Liberal government will ensure environmental protections and Indigenous rights are upheld. The House of Commons is adjourned until September 15th. European ministers met with their Iranian counterpart on Friday in an effort to bring an end to the war between Israel and Iran. Though there was no breakthrough, hopes were raised that Iran would participate in future talks. Meanwhile, as Chris Brown reports, Israel and Iran continue to exchange missile and drone strikes.
If there is going to be a diplomatic solution to this war, the path to it remains very uncertain, as top Israeli officials said again today that their country intends to continue with the war it launched against Iran until the nuclear threat from Iran is dealt with Iran countering by saying it won't negotiate anything while it's under attack. European foreign ministers are nonetheless trying, and the first steps happened in Geneva today as they met with Iran's foreign minister. As the meeting broke, they emphasized that there is no military solution to the issue of Iran's nuclear program, only diplomatic ones. Here's David Lammy of the UK.
We are keen to continue ongoing discussions and negotiations with Iran, and we urge Iran to continue their talks with the United States. This is a perilous moment, and it is hugely important that we don't see regional escalation of this conflict.
Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff is apparently also in the mix as well and talking to the Iranians, according to U.S. officials. In his remarks before the talks, Iran's foreign minister portrayed his country as the victim here.
We were attacked in the midst of an ongoing diplomatic process. We were supposed to meet with Americans on 15 June to craft a very promising agreement for peaceful resolution of the issues fabricated over our peaceful nuclear program. It was a betrayal of diplomacy.
The minister went on to say that by targeting nuclear facilities, Israel is committing a war crime. But that argument is unlikely to sway the Israelis or the Americans, who have accused Iran of dragging out pre-war talks deliberately to try to stall for time. In the meantime, both sides are continuing their attacks on the other. Dozens of people were injured in Haifa when an Iranian missile struck there, part of a large barrage that also caused hits in Beersheba and other parts of southern Israel. Israel has vowed to step up its attacks on Iran to increase the pressure on the regime leaders, which they also continue to do today, striking numerous targets in Tehran and also far beyond Iran's capital. Chris Brown, CBC News, Jerusalem.
With Israel and Iran's missile war entering its second week, many Iranians in this province are watching closely. Hassam Degani is the assistant professor of Persian language and culture at UBC. He joins us now. Hassam, how are you and your community handling the political turmoil back home?
Thanks for having me. Yes, to be honest, initially I didn't intend to participate in this interview with all the pressures, and I know as soon as we speak up, there's going to be pressure. But what changed my mind and made me want to share my voice, especially with Canadian citizens, was an experience I had this morning. I woke up and saw my Canadian dog and child smiling and peacefully going out about their day, despite the economic pressure that we all know exists. And I asked myself, what allows them to have this sense of peace and security? It's the quick answer that came to my mind was the rule of law that grants them the freedom and security to plan for their future, knowing that their rights and safety are protected by law. when you ask me how people feel, I think about how Iranians are currently deprived of that feeling because they are facing hostile actions from another power without any international oversight, without any end or light at the end of this tunnel.
Now, Hassam, earlier this week, U.S. President Donald Trump urged the immediate evacuation of Tehran. Is this a realistic instruction? Are people leaving the capital? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, about displacement, just when I listen that it is evident that this narrative claiming to target only military or nuclear sites while supposedly warning civilians reflect an instrumental mindset that reduces human lives to mere numbers. This approach, which treats people as pawns to move from the north of Tehran to south of Tehran, that city like a metropolis like Tehran with its own infrastructure problems, ultimately reveals profound disregard for human dignity. The very notion that this is even framed as an act of self-defense falls apart under scrutiny. True self-defense would not involve displacing or endangering innocent civilian lives in another country. You know, this very question, I think, shows that the whole thing is talking points and propaganda.
Now, do you believe Iranians are saying this war might be an opportunity to overthrow the current regime? Do you believe that might be the case?
Yeah, so I understand that some individuals within the Iranian diaspora may harbor a belief that such an attack would potentially lead to the overthrow of the government in Iran. However, it is important to approach this perspective with caution and critically assess potential consequences of such actions. What I want to express is that those who hold this viewpoint seems to adopt the same instrumental perspective towards the people, almost as if the ultimate goal of toppling the government justify any necessary means. This is a country of 90 million people, you know, and just imagine if you now say nothing, it will in future will haunt you with, not least with the influx of refugees.
Thank you so much, Hassam. Hassam Degani is an assistant professor of Persian language and culture at UBC. It's a dance movement that has quietly swept the nation. Now the Maritimes is in the grips of silent disco. We'll show you their moves coming up next. Silent dance classes are taking hold in the Maritimes. There's a group in Prince Edward Island wearing headphones and dancing along to music only they can hear. They say ditching the speaker brings them closer to the sounds and their groovy moves.
We are at Victoria Park in a groove dance class, which is a community dance floor, and we're having a great time outside with the sun and the wind and the water and people around, and it is so much fun.
Tap and shame walk. Shame, shame. You can say shame on you, and then you can dance with them. Shame on you. If you can't dance too.
Before we got the silent disco, we used to have a speaker. And the great thing was when we had the speaker, it was good and we could interact, but at the same time we still interact, but we have the music more in our ears, and it makes it so that we can really focus really deep in and really get the most out of the experience. Yet you have the community, but you're very personal as well with the music.
Why did you want to make the switch from just regular speaker to headphones?
That I was seeing how much success and how much, the positive feedback they were getting in Europe and other places that were doing it. So it just seemed to make sense. It seemed to be kind of a popular thing to do. And I know myself, especially there's some senior ladies in the class and whatnot, and it's quite difficult to, when you have the speaker up loud enough so that they can hear the rhythms, because you see I'll connect them to the, the pattern and the music. So for them to hear the patterns and the music and the rhythms and hear me. So I was hoarse sometimes by the time I was done screaming over the music to try to, connect everyone to the moves. And so the headphones just seemed like a, kind of a no-brainer.
When you're dancing, how are you feeling?
Happy. Dancing is very joyful. It really and truly, you can't think of anything else in your life but the steps. Whatever Ronnie sets out and the music and the beat, and you're really in the moment, and for 1 hour you escape life, and it's wonderful. And it's just so much fun being around so many fun people too. There's a great friendship here. We're all very close. We all come from different walks of life, and we're all great friends on the dance floor, and we can really connect one another, and we just come to have a good time and celebrate life in every way that we can. Like I said, different levels, different ways, but we all come with joy, we all come with fun, and we all come for friendship. Woo!
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Support BC Cancer Foundation by leaving a gift in your will and join our 90-year legacy of driving life-saving innovations.
Darius Madavi is back with a look at our weather. And Darius, it's been a bit of a wet one for some areas in the province.
That's right. Much rain across the southern interior, as well as here for more southern parts of the island, as well as the lower mainland. Although the North Island, not looking too bad. Lots of sunshine up there, and that will continue over the next couple days. But yes, definitely watching as those thunderstorms continue to roll through much of the interior. Keeping a close eye on that. They will likely be some thunderstorms across parts of the province tomorrow, but not as widespread, although the precipitation will continue for much of the southern interior. Again, good news for a place that does still have quite stubborn fire danger up high. That should drop throughout the south. I'd say that the far corner up in by Fort Nelson, the part of the northeast that hasn't really gotten much rain still, is the one place that we will continue to see higher fire danger than the rest of the province, whereas everybody else stays suppressed, at least through the weekend. So breathe a sigh of relief. When it gets sunny on Sunday, know that you'll at least have a slightly repressed fire situation for the most part. Although keep an eye on those gusty winds coming with some of those thunderstorms. Again, we had some rain coming to much of the lower mainland earlier today. We will see more rain move in for the South Island and the lower mainland as we get into tonight. That will continue into tomorrow morning and then likely taper off before the afternoon, which means that for many areas, we could see a bit of sunshine tomorrow afternoon. That will then continue into Sunday, on and off, alternating with clouds. Tomorrow, temperatures will be a little bit suppressed here in the south, though, before they come up again on Sunday. And again, there you go, clearing by about noon tomorrow. Here is across the province look. You can see, again, some more showers moving through the southern interior before starting to retreat as we get through the end of the day tomorrow. And then it's very scattered as we continue to see some thunderstorms popping up. And notice, again, part of the some of the mountains there getting snow up at those higher elevations because freezing levels are going to be dropping in some places, more than likely. As we see some of those thunderstorms pop up and roll through, they can drive freezing levels down very quickly, which is why we have a chance of snow on some of those mountain passes. Something else to be aware of this weekend. Temperatures for the next couple of days, you can see that drop in the southern interior tomorrow. Then temperatures recover across, or start to recover at least, across across much of the southern interior as we get into Sunday, though the southeast remains a little bit suppressed, and then recover even more as we get into Monday, with the exception of the far southeast corner of the province. Again, a couple thunderstorms in places like Kamloops tomorrow, maybe inland sections of the north coast too. And here is our 5-day forecast here in Vancouver. Janella, expect some rain tomorrow morning and then some sun that continues for a few days. Middle next week, probably our next chance of some precipitation.
All right, Darius, thanks so much. And guess what time it is? That's right. It is Fun Fact Friday. And Darius, you are going to tell us about how sloths find their mate.
That's right. This is the sloth that we are talking about. This is the three-fingered sloth.
Oh, so cute.
I know. You might have heard it called the three-toed sloth, and I'm just going to take issue with that for a moment here. These are its fingers. There are 3 of them. These are its toes. There are also 3. But every sloth has 3 toes, so that means that when you say a 2-toed sloth or a 3-toed sloth, it doesn't make sense. It's a 3-fingered sloth or a 2-fingered sloth. That's just my quick little indulgence in myself for complaining about the terminology. That being said, there we go, 3 fingers. This little happy guy is one of the ones that we're talking about. I want to talk a bit specifically about female 3-fingered sloths and how they find their mate. Because when they are ready to mate, when they're in estrus, in heat, when they're ready to find a partner, they will make this sound. Puts you in the mood, right? What a sound.
Quite high-pitched, isn't it?
That is a D sharp 7th, from what I heard. I played that on the radio once, and some Rory in the interior wrote in to say that it is indeed a D sharp 7th. He also told me the pitch in which I say hello or hello when I'm on the radio, so that was also cool. Thank you for that. And yes, the female sloth will make that noise. The male sloths will come running. If more than one comes, they will have a little fight, which is the easiest fight to record in slow motion, I would imagine, for these. This is real speed here. And then the winner will go off with the female. They'll do their thing, have a little nap, and that's it.
All right, that is a fun fact I had no idea about. Thanks so much, Darius.
Thank you.
Pro basketballers, the Vancouver Bandits, will be broadcasting in Punjabi in Metro Vancouver. We head to Langley to meet the broadcasters. That's next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
CBC is the exclusive media partner of the Indian Summer Festival, July 4th to 13th. The theme of Borderless Solidarities invites audiences into spaces of shared breath, joyful defiance, and deep listening. Tickets at indiansummerfest.ca, and CBC's Musical Nooners is back on July 2nd. It's a free, family-friendly concert series that brings together community, culture, and live music every Wednesday at noon.
In case you didn't know, Vancouver has a pro basketball franchise, the Vancouver Bandits of the Canadian Elite Basketball League.
And for the second year in a row, the games are being broadcasted in one of Metro Vancouver's predominant South Asian languages. CBC's Zamir Karim went to Langley to meet the Punjabi broadcasters.
The Lower Mainland is arguably one of the most diverse communities in Canada. So it's an opportunity for us to connect and respect the diverse community that we have here. And the South Asian community is such a large part of this community, and basketball is such a large part of the South Asian community. Now we have come back. Every weekend game, home game, is on Connect FM with the Punjabi radio broadcast, including South Asian Celebration Night on the Friday, June 20th.
Hi, my name is Jagraj Lalli. I'm the play-by-play broadcaster for Vancouver Bandits basketball in Punjabi.
My name is Sharman Chahal, and I'm a Punjabi broadcaster with Vancouver Bandits basketball. I played a little bit in high school, but not a lot, but I was more of a cricket fan. But I was always into the sports. I always wanted to be a part of it. I always wanted to be around broadcasting, and it was something that always fascinated me, to be honest. The pre-games, post-games, and being around the arena and then watching the games live.
Growing up, I was a big NBA fan. I didn't cheer for any teams majorly, but I cheered for basketball players. Growing up, I was a huge LeBron fan, huge Devin Booker fan, huge Kevin Durant fan. Obviously, when it comes to the language of Punjabi in basketball as opposed to English, there are some differences, but most of it is the same. The passion, the excitement, the energy that you bring, it's all the same as you would do in English.
Yeah, it's been great actually. The kind of response we got last year after the videos and the audio went viral on social media, and then 100K views on stuff. And then we had people coming up to us and then saying, "Oh, we tuned into Connect FM, and then we heard the Vancouver Bandits game was broadcasting."
We've gotten response from everyone from as young as the ages of 12, 13, kids in elementary school that just started playing the game of basketball or they played during recess and lunch, to the oldest generation who have been here in Canada for a long time. They're connected with the sport of basketball, and they love that there's an alternate listening experience for them, especially for those who are so connected to the Punjabi language and Punjabi culture that they get to listen in their language.
Do you have a catchphrase?
When it comes to Punjabi, I don't have a necessarily catchphrase that I've come up with, but something that I've repeated 2 times. I did it once last year and I did it this year, is on a fast break dunk, I'll say, the player comes. So for example, I'll use this year's call that I did. Kyle Mangus had a steal, and then he had a fast way, or rather a transition fast break one, had a dunk. I said, Kyle Mangus ne ball chori kar dita. Kyle Mangus aa gaya te kehda tha ji tha, which means he slammed the ball down. Right, so I did that last year when Tajay Moore had this dunk, and that actually happened on South Asian Heritage Night. It's one of the most memorable calls of my career in any sport that I've done.
Basketball is arguably one of the most popular sports in the South Asian community, especially amongst youth. But we're finding a lot of adults and grandparents, maybe they don't understand the game as much as the kids. So for us, this is an opportunity for them to sit at home together, listen to the Punjabi radio broadcast, and learn about the game together and find a way to connect.
It's a proud moment for me to be representing my native language and then combining it with the popular sport in North America. And then it's a huge honor to be calling the games in my native language.
I was born here, but even with that, I grew up just speaking Punjabi at home. I was blessed enough to have a great grandmother in my life for 17 years. She taught me how to speak the language, read, write. I knew it all growing up, and it was all thanks to her that I was able to learn this language, adapt to this language, and keep it as my #1 language growing up. And to be able to, call professional sports this early into my career, it's been a dream come true. And we have the most amazing team at the Vancouver Bandits who have been so supportive of what we have done. And, we can't thank everyone enough for allowing us to come in and really help grow this game to the South Asian audiences.
That was a great story by Samir and his editor, Kaylee.
Yes, absolutely. And so nice to see more diverse broadcasting happening across the province. Thanks so much for being with us on CBC Vancouver News. You can watch this newscast on our free CBC Gem app, as well as on our YouTube and our website at cbc.ca/BC.
She'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock because she took my line right after the National. Have a great night.